Hello everyone, welcome back to Mrs. J's Cooking. So I'm really excited today because this is one of my favorite recipes. So many of my students try this and love it. You are going to love this too. We're making grilled veggie paninis. And if you don't know what a panini is a grilled pressed sandwich that has different fillings in it and lots of ooey gooey melty cheese, and that's what really makes it. So before we get started, there's a few things you're going to need. You're going to need a cutting board, some knives, veggies, and several other items. I'm also today going to use a George Foreman Grill. If you don't have a George Foreman Grill, what it is an indoor grill that heats up quickly. I absolutely love these. I'm gonna sound like an infomercial here for a while. Do you need a George Foreman Grill for this recipe? No, you could do it a couple different ways, like on the stove top and just press it when you're done. You can put it in the oven and then press it when you're done. If you actually have a panini maker, yes, go for that. But the George Foreman Grill, not only is it something that you can cook foods on quickly, I'm gonna grill my vegetables on it today, I'm going to grill our sandwiches on it, but it's very easy to clean up. The George Foreman Grill that I have is awesome. It's not like the originals for those of you that had them when they first came out and you had that Teflon coating. That was terrible to try to clean. This is actually one now that you can remove the plates from it, and I actually invested a little bit more in the ceramic coated grill, and you can just take those off. It wipes right off, or you can put it in the dishwasher and it is so much easier to clean. But I highly recommend, this is one of those appliances that I would say, yes, get yourself a George Foreman Grill because you can use it so many different ways. They're great for quesadillas, you can do the paninis and grilling, whatever, when you don't want to go outside and actually use the grill. But we're going to be using that for our paninis today. I'm excited to get started, so I'm gonna go ahead and pull my hair back and get my apron on, and we are going to start making these paninis. All right, now that I'm all set, some of the ingredients for this particular recipe that you're going to need is bread. I'm probably gonna make about 5 sandwiches with this recipe. You could, have a little more or not. I'm just using regular bread because I have that at home. But if you have like the homemade or from the bakery Italian or ciabatta bread, or there's so many different really good crusty breads that are great for paninis, but I'm just using, regular white bread that I have at home. So first you need that. Then you need your vegetables. So for our vegetables today, I'm going to use zucchini. So I have a little zucchini here, summer squash. I'm also going to use an onion. Now I'm not using the whole onion, just a section of it. And usually I love to use a red pepper, but I have a green bell pepper, so I'm going to use that today. Also, some of the other things I will be using is mozzarella cheese. We'll be using that. French tarragon. And either mayo or your favorite, maybe Miracle Whip. We're gonna make our own dressing for the sandwich. For that, you're also gonna need some white vinegar or tarragon vinegar. I usually prefer to use tarragon vinegar, but I don't have any at home, so I'm just switching it up. A packet of sweetener, or if you don't use sweetener, I'm using stevia today, you could use like a tablespoon or actually a teaspoon of sugar to sweeten your dressing. And then your favorite salad dressing vinaigrette. So not like a creamy one. This is maybe Italian or the balsamic vinaigrette. These work really great because we're gonna marinate our vegetables with these, and we're gonna actually brush this on the outside of our sandwich too. This panini is so delicious, guys. You are going to love this. All right, now that I'm ready once again to get started, before I start cutting my vegetables, there's something I wanna do. You can use either a bowl or a Ziploc baggie, which is what I'm gonna use today, and that's where we're going to marinate our vegetables as we cut them. So I'm gonna have this open, and remember that salad dressing I talked about? So today I decided to use the Italian dressing because that's what my family likes the best. Personally, I would rather have, and probably Mr. J would too, rather have the balsamic vinaigrette, but you need a half a cup of whatever that dressing is ready to go, and we are going to pour that right in to that baggie. Now, don't get rid of this cup because you're gonna need that that residual or that leftover dressing that's in there, because we're gonna brush the outside of the bread with that later. So we have our bag of dressing. Now it's time to cut our vegetables. First thing I'm going to cut is the zucchini, and then I'm going to cut the summer squash. So we're gonna get those ready to go. But before I do, I wanna show you something. Today, Mr. J and I went to a local greenhouse, and we got things to start our garden for summer. This is about the time of year that we do that. And I love to grow zucchini because I use it for so many different dishes. So we actually got some zucchini plants, a couple of them I have here, and I'd like to show that to you before they start growing. So you can see just the start of the zucchini plants here, and notice there's still the little seedling or the little seed attached to that. Now, as this grows, zucchinis grow out into a very long vine. As they grow on the vine, big yellow or orange flowers will appear, and then the zucchini grow along those parts of the vine. And if they're not harvested from the plant, they actually can grow pretty big. So I like to usually get them before they get too large, because then they have a lot of seeds in them. But it's amazing how fast they do grow. But this is something we definitely always put in our garden because we use a lot of zucchini. So I'm going to trim off my end. I don't need to use the whole zucchini. We only need to use about half of it. So I'm going to save half of that for some other dinner that I'm going to make. Also, if you're not someone that is a zucchini fan, just keep in mind that zucchini actually just takes on the flavors of what other things that you are cooking. So I'm cutting the zucchini into strips first, like this, and then we're going to cut it in 2/3 so it will be easy to grill and easy to fit on our sandwich. Here and here. At this point, we're going to add our zucchini right in to our dressing. Next is the summer squash. I'm cutting off my end here. Once again, I'm only using half of this. Summer squash is like zucchini's sister. It's just yellow. Once again, it takes on those flavors. So what it's going to do is pull in all that flavor from your marinade, from your dressing. So it's gonna have that Italian dressing flavor to it. And the best part is it's good for you. Once again, in 2/3. Throw that into the bag. So I just cut the zucchini and the summer squash. I'm gonna save these for another dish. These are great, cooked in some olive oil with a little salt and pepper, or there's tons of different things you can do with them. The thing I love about these is they're so versatile. I mean, think about it. There's zucchini bread and zucchini cake, and it's sweet and delicious, but there's tons of really wonderful sauteed, or even ratatouille, if you've ever had that. There's so many good foods that you can make that have these in them, and they take on those other flavors of what you're cooking them with. Very versatile, very healthy, great fiber, so good for you. Time to move on to the next ingredient, which is a bell pepper. All right, same as the zucchini with the pepper, we're not using the whole thing. We're only using probably about 1/4 of the pepper. Like I said before, I love to use red pepper because it adds color and it has a sweetness to it, but I don't have one, and at this time I'm not running out to the grocery store to just to get one ingredient. So we're gonna make do with the green pepper. This is something else that I grow in my garden. These are, you can use peppers for so many different things. Something pretty cool though, the longer that the pepper is on the plant, it can actually turn red, and it sweetens as it ripens. So, and we actually bought some pepper plants today, so I want to show you what those look like. Now, these are all at the very beginning stages when they're first starting to grow, but I think it's interesting for some of you that may have not seen these before to see what the pepper plant looks like. You can see they start out, they'll grow little white flowers on them and then produce the peppers. You can see this one is called Big Bertha. So as these grow in our garden, I definitely want to show you so you can see the progress and see how some of these plants grow. At least I hope to do that. We'll see what happens. The next ingredient that I want to add is onion. Now I'm only going to use 1/4 of a sweet onion. This adds some nice flavor to it. Remember, I don't want to add the whole thing. Remember, we're just making 5 sandwiches, maybe 6 with this. So we don't need to use a lot of it. And it is going to soak also as it is in the marinade. We want to pull out those flavors, and as it cooks, on an onion person, this really, as it cooks, the onion caramelizes, which adds sweetness to your vegetables. It's really good, and depending on how you like the texture of your vegetables determines how long you're going to cook them. Something else I want to share with you before I start cutting my onion is, I showed you before about the potatoes with the roots. Onions are a bulb vegetable, which means they grow just a little bit below the surface. And as you can see, it is starting to sprout here. I could plant this and I would get big onion leaves, and we could get more onions out of this. This would be like the seed. But I want to show this to you because it is so neat. As you can see here, we have the onion starting to sprout. Down below, we have the root portion. This would spread out even more. The seeds are actually down inside there. But when you purchase seed onions, they look similar to this. They start sprouting, is what our onion looks like. I'm gonna show you how to cut an onion without crying today. So have you ever cut onions and you just started crying and you couldn't take it? Your eyes are watering. It's like you can't see anything, you can't breathe. It's crazy. So onions, here's a little trick. Well, there's a couple tricks. Some people say you can chew gum. That doesn't work for me. Some people say wear glasses. That doesn't work for me. But what does work for me are a couple things. One thing is if you keep your onions in the refrigerator, usually that slows it down, but you still cry. It's also suggested to cut them underwater, but that's kind of tricky, right? Here is what I do. I actually, the little root portion here, and inside is like a tiny, remember how I told you it's a bulb vegetable? There's like a tiny little bulb in the center that is basically the seed for the onion. That's where you're going to find propanethyl S-oxide. That's what creates the enzymes that react with your eyes and you cry. And the best way to not have that happen, it's kind of tricky, is to actually cut around the root. Don't cut the root because you'll get it, you'll be crying. But try to cut diagonally, think of that little bulb shape in there and pull or extract that part out of it. I'm gonna try to do it, but you know how it is with fruits and vegetables, they're not all the same. So a perfect line is not going to just totally pull it all out, but I'll get a good portion of it, I think. Before I do that, I am going to take this very fibrous, dry outside off. So let me do that, and then we'll do the next part. Right here you can see where the top of those bulbs are, and it actually separated. So I'm gonna have a little bit of trouble trying to get that out, but that's okay. I'm gonna cut as best as I can right around this root. Now I know some of you saw me take all of those big pieces of the center of the onion. You thought that's wasteful. Don't worry, I'm saving those. These are great chopped up for stews or if you make stock, especially now when we're trying to really conserve, well, which we should usually do, conserve what we're using. I can chop this up and cook even this, tough outer coating and make a vegetable or a chicken stock for a soup or a stew, and then take the stuff out of there and the flavor will still be there. So don't worry, this is not getting wasted. Put those into my veggies over here. And at this point, we're gonna zip them up and let them soak for about 5 minutes. Make sure you coat them really well. My vegetables are ready to put on our George Foreman Grill. They're going to cook until they're tender and they have a little bit of a golden brown color to them. My grill is hot and ready to go. I'm going to just lift this up. I have my drip tray in place. The nice thing about these is any fat or juices will actually pour and drip down into the drip. Now that our vegetables are grilling, it's time to make our own dressing. Now you could put whatever you want on your grilled veggie panini, but I have this fabulous French tarragon dressing that is so good. For those of you that aren't common or familiar with French tarragon, it's used obviously in a lot of French cooking, but it's in a lot of poultry dishes. It's great for sauces. It's a sweet herb that has a great flavor to it. Something different than basil or oregano. There's a sweetness to it. You can find it in your local grocery store, and I actually just bought some for my herb garden today, so I'm going to show you what it looks like before it starts growing. You can see here tarragon looks like this, but it actually will grow several feet tall, and you just simply use these little leaves and cut them up, and they have the sweetest, most delicious flavor. Tarragon. I'm also going to use salt and pepper. Like I had mentioned before, I'm using a packet of sweetener, or you could use sugar. We're gonna sweeten this up, or if you don't really like sweet stuff, you could just eliminate that. And then we need vinegar. As I mentioned before, I really like to use tarragon vinegar. I did not have any white vinegar, or I actually have some apple cider vinegar, and I sprinkled some tarragon in there to infuse its flavor into the vinegar. And the last thing that we need is our dressing base, which could be mayo or some type of a creamy salad dressing like Miracle Whip. This just happens to be what I have on hand, so I'll be using this today. It's only going to be 1/4 cup of this that we're using, but a lot of people don't realize mayo or the creamy salad dressing is a base for a lot of different foods. Some ranch dressings have it in there, broccoli salads, for your coleslaw, like so many different things have this in there. And sometimes people like those, they just don't like this stuff by itself. We're making our own dressing, and this is the base for it. Just like if you had olive oil and vinegar, it would be the base for, you know, some other type of dressing. This is our base today for the tarragon dressing. Our veggies are grilling, our dressing is made. Now it's time to prep our cheese. I have the mozzarella ready to go, and I need to actually remember that liquid measuring cup we had with the leftover Italian dressing. Well, I added a splash more to it. I'm actually going to brush very lightly, I can't stress that enough, the outside of the bread. Just like when you make a grilled cheese sandwich and you put some butter on the outside of it, what we're gonna do is just very lightly brush the outside. You don't want too much dressing on there or it will make your bread soggy. We just want a little bit of flavor, and we want it to have like a non-stick coating too. It is going to add some of that dressing flavor to our bread. It's gonna help the bread get a nice golden color. Just remember, not too much. I've brushed the outside of my bread with the Italian dressing or the balsamic vinaigrette, whatever you decided you want to do. I did Italian, if you remember. So now I'm gonna flip those pieces of bread over, and remember that dressing we made we are going to use this and just put it on the inside. So the outside of the sandwich is your balsamic or your Italian dressing. Inside is that lovely French tarragon dressing. We want to get all of our sandwiches ready because those vegetables are about ready to come off the grill. So I think my vegetables are done cooking. My Foreman grill is over here. Now it is really hot, so be careful. Now if you don't have one of these, you could saute your vegetables on the stove. You could cook them on the grill, but this George Foreman grill works perfectly for this. I'm gonna actually unplug it for the moment. I'll turn it back on in a minute because we need it again. And oh, they look perfect. Now, with the Foreman grill, it grills with both plates, so some of your vegetables might stick to the top, no big deal. I am going to use my tongs, be careful because this is really hot, and slide that drip tray. It's caught a lot. It's caught a lot of the dressing and some of the water from the vegetables. So I'm gonna actually slide a plate just under there and collect my veggies. My vegetables are done. It's time to put it on the bread. I've already started, so I'm just gonna finish putting these right on my bread. Then we're gonna top it with mozzarella. As I mentioned before, I'm making 6 sandwiches. Looking at this, I think I should have cut just a little more veggies or possibly added something else. This recipe goes really well with turkey. You could add deli turkey sliced in here. But I do wish I had the red pepper because that pop of color looks so good. But I know this is still going to taste amazing. So now it's time to start adding the mozzarella. We're going to put this side down on our sandwich. I have all my sandwiches prepped and I'm going to just put them right over on my George Foreman grill. It's really hot, but I'm going to carefully place these on and I'm going to allow it to press down so it can cook. Due to the size of my grill, I can only make 2 at a time, but if you have one of the larger George Foreman grills, you can actually cook all 6 at one time, and it will just take a couple minutes to get it to that nice, toasty, crispy outside and our cheese to be nice and melty. I can't wait for you guys to see this. My last 2 are finished. They're gonna look so great. So I'm gonna go ahead, I'm gonna go grab them off of the grill and unplug it first. This one doesn't have an off button, which is odd, but it's all right. Oh, they look perfect. I think I know someone that would like some of these. And his name does not start with a W. They look so, look at this. Can you see, guys? Oh, they look so good. It's steaming. That cheese, if you love cheese, this is for you. Woo! That is hot. All right, so we have these all done and I'm gonna cut 1 in half and let's see if Mr. J wants to try one. Let's cut it first though so you guys can see the cheese. See, look at this. Look at the cheese. That looks good. Looks a little hot though. We might let it cool down. Let's get Mr. J to try them. All right, Mr. J, do you want to try one of these delicious grilled veggie paninis?
Of course, because I love vegetables. All right.
What do you think?
Oh, it looks very cheesy. Let's see.
Mine's down.
Winston, you want some too? Lots of cheese.
How are those vegetables? They're marinated in Italian dressing.
Yeah,
You
you
taste
can
it?
definitely tell.
You can't have it, Winston. It's not for you, buddy.
Not for yours. Definitely taste the marinade. Lots of cheese. Bread is good. Nice and crispy. No. Good stuff. A+, as always.
A+. Can you taste the tarragon on there? Do you taste this?
I don't know what tarragon tastes like.
So it has a very sweet flavor. It's a sweet herb.
There's some sweetness there, yes.
But it's good?
It's good.
Would you request these for a lunch at some time? If I added turkey to them.
If you added meat.
We know Mr. J loves lots of meat, right? So good?
Mm-hmm.
All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Tell me in the comments below what ingredients you would love in your vegetable panini, or you know what, not your vegetable panini, any panini. Thanks again so much for watching. I'll see you real soon, guys. Bye.